Mukyalo namo twalimona ifyo ubuteko bulefikisha amapange yakwalula fimo mu lupapulo lwa kyalo mukupekanya ifunde lyakutwala kunganda ya mafunde pakuti bashikirye basangwa muri inganda bakalandepo n'okusuminishanya pakutikateka ya akasahine chibe lifunde lya mu lupapulo lwa kyalo. Kwena obuteko bwine bulepitana mu maprovinsi okusambirisha n'okweba abantu ifirimu fyo balembere ng'efintu filefwaikwa okwalulwa nangu kuchinja. Uyo mulimo nao tawumoneke ngo wakishinka kyakufwaya ukwishiba ifyo abekala kyalo abene balupapulo bengatemwa okuba mu mafunde ya lupapulo lwabo. Chirikwati kuwaishiba fyonse nga pinguilako bonse pafyo bale kabila nombaena kwisabe bafye okuti na alishibe fyo mufwaya na limirembelako ifikaba amafunde ya kumwafwa okuikala mubwana lale na bonse batota abati mwahombeni kalombo. Tatuishibe na bamembala ba muparamenti nga bakakwata ubuntungwa bwa kishinka kyakwalesa ili bakatampa okulanda pamilandu ili mufyo buteko bulefwayo okwalula n'okuchinja ulupapulo lwa kyalo. Kuti twabakumbilwa afye mweyo wakwa Kristu uwaba mweyo wa kishinka okuti akabe nabo n'emitima yabo ikapokelele amaka yakwe mukuchita n'okulanda ifya kishinka ifikafwa abantu kumyaka iya kuntanchi. Lelo hapo kulibamo abalenji bushati bushe imwe bashikofu lubalinshi musendelemo muri uyu mulimo buteko butampile muno kyalo. Kuti kyawama na bwekeshapo amashiwi na ishilelanda kuno mulabasa pabushiku bwa pa 9 April unowine umwaka. Na yamashiwi na yalandile ng'ekirangiriro kyakuti abana ba eklesia baba n'okwishiba amafunde eklesia afunda pamulandu wa bwikashi bw'abantu mu kyalo. Pantu nga bayishiba ifyo eklesia afunda lyena takwaleba ukuipusha bashikofu atemu abapatiri ati muleti poshani. Icho muleti poshani ninshi alishibikwa kale ku bantu. Namashiwi yandi nalandile ayo nalabwekeshapo ng'obwasuko kuli bonse abana ba eklesia abaletwishika palubali bali n'okubula pali uyu mulimo wakwalula n'okuchinja ulupapulo lwa kyalo ni aya. Fila walanda quote na chita quote ife nalandile kyali wama okusambirishanya pafintu eklesia afunda pakuti takuleba ukutwishika n'okulapula ompunta nga kwaisa amashiwi mu kyalo ayakumine ubwikashi bw'abantu. Ng'efi kiri mu kyalo kyesu tutampile ukuchiushanya pamulandu wakuwamya ulupapulo lwa kyalo kyesu. Kwati fintu kyali mu 1995, 1996, ilio na mu 2019 na mu 2020 ilio nakabili kwali umulimo umowine. Lyonse umulandu wakwalula nangu kuwamya ulupapulo nga waima ninshi kuchiushanya kula itunga abalwani babuteko nekyalo na fimbipo na bamo ukuyimona ati eba mano ukuchilaba nabo kabiri bakwata obusuma bwa kyalo mu mitima yaabo aba naabo iyo napali ifi fyonse eklesia wesu muno Zambia alifunda kale okuti omulandu wakwalula n'okuwamya olupapulo lwa kyalo mulandu w'abeekala kyalo bonse n'abeekala kyalo bonse bafuile okuyibimbamu n'okwishiba uko uyo mulimo ulelola n'enshila yakufikila mukupwisha uyo mulimo nintu yasuminishiwa kuli bonse teya muntu umo nefika tumbukamo mumulimo fya bonse okusumina ati efe tulefwaya okuyiteka mu kyalo kyesu emukutila ukumva fyonse fita kuli ninki takufuile okuba omulimo wakwalula n'okuchinja olupapulo lwa kyalo kano fye ninki umo ewayitunga okuti ewakwatisha amaka n'amaano pabantu bonse abene ba lupapulo n'okuti eufuile ukubapangila olupapulo bena kupokelela fye epo napelela nguntile epo napelela kulanda pamashiwi aye nabulile muliela mashiwi naishilela nda kuno mulabasa ifi efe nalandile pa 9 April uno mwaka kuno mulabasa ifi nabwekeshapo ng'obwasuko bwa bonse abale ipusha palubali eklesia muno archdiocese na Muzambia abula pamulandu wakwalula olupapulo lwa kyalo ubuteko bwesu bwaimya ndesubila mweba kutika kuno mulabasa nga mwankumanya na kabiri tamwakanjipushe palubali eklesia abula muri uyu mulimo ubuteko bwaimya.
Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. Today is Wednesday. We are discussing the role of the judiciary in our country. We are worried about the state of the judiciary in our country. I think they are being treated like domestic workers. Now, this is not to impugn that our domestic workers, or it's an insult to the domestic workers, but that's a state of our judiciary. Domestic workers are not properly protected. They have no security of tenure. They have no legal protection. Even when we've provided for minimum wage, our people don't treat our domestic workers very well. They can be fired at any time. They lack even payments for overtime. They have no workplace safety. So it's a good analogy that our judiciary is being treated like domestic workers. It's a harsh reality, and we've seen it in the full extent under President Hakainde Hichilema. That's our debate today. You'll be able to call us on 0973 07808. The number is on the screen. You can check it, and you can call on WhatsApp on that number. But as usual, let's start with in-house issues like we always do. The Lusaka Stock Exchange was today celebrating that CEC has become $1 billion company. And the president had two ministers, my dear brother Paul Kabuswe, who's a minister of Mines and Minerals Development, and the one for Commerce and Enterprises, brother, were at Luce to celebrate the ascension of CEC as a $1 billion company listed at the Lusaka Stock Exchange. Here's a brief clip, and then I come and give my opinion.
This is non-alcoholic. 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 Yes, the non-alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
Gentlemen, as we pop the champagne, this is a notice to remind you that we do have a panel discussion immediately after this lovely.
So I've had several issues with the matter of CEC. Remember, CEC was under ZCCM. It was a power company under ZCCM. It was an in-house company to provide for power, secure it from ZESCO, and supply it to the mines. After privatization and after ZCCM was unbundled into various companies, and non-core assets such as power department were sold, it became what is now called CEC. CEC is listed on the on the Lusaka Stock Exchange, and as you saw from the celebrations from the ministers, is now has a market capitalization of $1 billion. Should we say congratulations? Yes, we should. But there are things that are in the interest of the country that are asked to be spoken to and have to be attended. The 1 billion market capitalization comes after its share price rose by 6.9% from 16 kwacha 65 ingwe to 17 kwacha 68 ingwe. And it tipped over the market capitalization to over $1 billion. Now, you remember the wrangles. The CEC has a bulk supply agreement. It came to an end in 2019, and government wanted certain things. The government of President Lungu wanted certain things normalized. The shareholding structure of CEC and this transparency and exploitative relationship between CEC and ZESCO. They wanted a proper rate for ZESCO to sell its power to CEC, because CEC is a middleman and it gets power from ZESCO and then sells it to the mines and exports it to ZESCO at an exorbitant, lucrative price. People would say this is business. Well, it should be business even to ZESCO. ZESCO should price its power at a cost-reflective price so that it's not making a loss. But ZESCO sells power to CEC at a very, very low rate, probably not even cost-reflective. That was a contention in 2019. CEC has over the years, since it became a private company from ZCCMI, tried to diversify and become an independent power producer. It has it has a project, I think, in Northwestern Province where it wants to put up a hydro project. Is currently doing a solar power project in Kitwe, Timpi area. And it's now trying to be not just as a middleman like it has been, but try to own some assets such as, generation and transmission lines. My argument when this was renewed as soon as President Hakainde Hichilema came into office, and remember this is a company that is somehow associated to him, people like Charles Milupi, who's a Minister of Infrastructure, are said to be shareholders or owners or part owners of CEC. When they signed this agreement, we asked, can they make it public? How much is ZESCO selling power to CEC? Because we know how much CEC is selling to the mines and on its exports to the DRC. But how much is ZESCO selling this power to CEC? That matter has never been made public. The bulk supply agreement between ZESCO and CEC has not been made public. They've spoken to it, but it's not public. We want the details. That is my contention. Two, CEC is covered in a shareholding structure that is layered, and it's difficult for you to know who actually owns CEC. About 48%, I think, that's why it's on the Lusaka Stock Exchange, has been given to institutional investors like ZCCMIH or NAPSA and others. But it's a majority stake. It's owned by a Zambian company called Zambia Energy Corporation Limited. It's registered in Ireland. Then Zambia Energy Corporation Limited is owned by Batoka Energy Holdings Limited, again registered in Ireland, yet it's a Zambian company. Who are the owners of Zambia Energy Corporation Limited? And who are the owners of Batoka Energy Holdings Limited, who own 60% shareholding of CEC? Those are the matters we need to discuss. On the other hand, ZESCO is valued at over $11 billion, especially because of its generation assets, Kariba, generators, Kafue Gorge Higher, Iteji, and the smaller hydros spread across the country. So ZESCO is an $11 billion company. It generates over $1 billion every year. But ZESCO is struggling financially. One, because of agreements like the one they have with CEC, where they generate this power and sell it at a very, very low rate. And then they are encumbered, literally eternally, to independent power producers like Mamba Collieries, who sell power to ZESCO at a very high price, over the market value of electricity in Zambia. So ZESCO is buying this power from Mamba Collieries at a very expensive rate, and it has to sell it to you and me and to the mines at a loss. So ZESCO will perpetually owe. It can never break even in this relationship with the Mamba Collieries and other independent power producers, because those agreements are extremely harmful to ZESCO. They buy it at above the market price and sell it to you and me at a low price. The other company that is, of course, a huge company is ZCCMIH. It's also a big multi-billion-dollar company. It has shares in literally many entities, including CEC, the one we are discussing. But it recently declared a profit of over $1.2 billion because of the sale that arose from Mopani. All we want is transparency as we celebrate. Let's go back to the issues why we are here today, the issues of the judiciary. President Hakainde Hichilema this afternoon announced the dismissal or the suspension of a judge from Mansa, Judge Honorable Mrs. Emilia Piri-Sukuntu, who is a judge in charge at the Mansa High Court, has been suspended. She's been suspended following the recommendations from the Judicial Complaints Commission. She will be the 8th judge if she will be fired. President Hakainde Hichilema has already fired 7 judges so far. I think you know the numbers. Let's go through the judges that have been fired recently. We have Honorable Sandenkon, the High Court judge, who was dismissed. We have Honorable Judge Joshua Banda, who was dismissed. We have Judge Timothy Katenekwa. Now, the case of Judge Timothy Katenekwa was totally unfair because the complainant in his case, Mishek, the gentleman died recently. Mishek Chanora, who was a complainant, complained against 2 judges, Justice Evans Hamaundu, Supreme Court Judge, and Judge Timothy Katenekwa. And he delivered evidence that these 2 judges collected bribes from him in order to rule in his favor over a long-standing, almost 20-year-old case with Zambia breweries. There were some workers that were fired, and this Mishek was among the workers that were pursuing this case. And he felt that Zambia breweries were somehow providing undue influence on the case, especially because it was a multinational. And he testified, reported these judges that despite them collecting bribes from him, they proceeded to rule against him and rule in favor of Zambia breweries. He documented the cases and took to the Judicial Complaints Commission. But the Judicial Complaints Commission and President Hakainde Hichilema only fired Timothy Katenekwa. And, they dropped the charges against Judge Evans Amaundu. In fact, Judge Evans Amaundu proceeded to retire in a good ceremony and was proceeded to be appointed as SEC a board chairperson. I wrote an article that this man is not fit to be he can't fight corruption because he was mad in corruption. Even when the Judicial Complaints Commission cleared him, the complainant complained that he was just favored by, he alleged tribal affiliation. He says because the JCC board chair comes from this region and Mr. Amaundu comes from this region, I have provided the evidence for both Timothy Katenekwa and Judge Evans Amaundu with witnesses, same information, but they've only cleared one because of tribal issues and punished the other. The man proceeded with another letter of complaint and appealed to Vincent Malambo, State Counsel, who's a board chair of Judicial Complaints Commission, to recuse himself because he felt that he probably was favoring Judge Evans Amaundu. So there are 7 judges that have been removed so far. You remember the 3 Constitutional Court judges who ruled against President Hakainde Hichilema in the 2015 electoral petition, 2016 electoral petition. Justice Anis Tali, Justice Mugen Mulenga, and Justice Palan Mulonda. They reprised this old case that had been heard 4 times, and these Constitutional Court judges were removed like domestic workers. Our issue here is that the removal process remains illegal. Remember, the Judicial Complaints Commission is a new body created by the 2016 constitutional amendments. Before that, there was a Judicial Complaints Authority, that not commission, authority, it was a JCA, that would hear these matters, then would make the president appoint a tribunal, and that tribunal then would adjudicate through a full hearing before a judge could be fired. So the new amendments that have provided for the Judicial Complaints Commission, the one that's now currently headed by Vincent Malambo, has no support in law because an enabling legislation has not been enacted. I hope this is not technical. Every time you create an institution in the Constitution, you have to enable it by subsidiary legislation. What has been existing all this time is a body called Judicial Complaints Authority. Okay, it was provided for by an act of parliament where judges were issues of ethics and their conduct were tabled, and the president was mandated to appoint 3 high court judges or Supreme Court judges to then, under a tribunal, hear the complaint. Then upon such a full hearing and determination, recommendations will go to the president. The JCC has not been enabled by a law, a subsidiary legislation. They are using the Judicial Complaints Authority Act, the old one. One of the first steps to do is to ensure that we harmonize the creation of the Judicial Complaints Commission in the new constitution. The one that was enacted in 2016 has an enabling legislation that hasn't been done. They are using the old body, the Judicial Complaints Authority. I don't know how they are mangling it. And Vincent Malambo and the board members can just sit themselves. They don't even need a high court judge as it was provided for, or a tribunal as it was provided for. They can just sit as a board and determine that such a judge misconducted themselves, and make recommendations, and within a period of 21 days, such a judge can lose their job. They can be removed. You are removing judges like they are domestic workers. That is our contention to them. I'm going to go deep in this, and I'm going to invite you to participate, because the threat to the judiciary, if it's not independent, if it's not autonomous, if it's not enjoying impartiality and threats, external threats, that judiciary can take a country to war, because the role of the judiciary is to secure peace and security. The judiciary is at the heart of resolving conflict in any country. In fact, the Bible has a whole lot of books, Judges 1 and Judges 2. The judges were literally rulers in their past. That's how important the judiciary is to any nation. If the judiciary is unstable, the country becomes unstable. If the judiciary is impartial, conflicts begin to be resolved outside the judiciary. If a judiciary is deemed defiled, impartial, partial, and that is not independent, is at the whims of the executive, you are threatening the very essence of nationalhood, peace, and security. And therefore, you can't uphold the rule of law. That is the fundamental issue with the issue of the judiciary. And that's why we are saying the state where we are in is extremely worrying. So before I delve into the issue of the judiciary, let me just finish my housekeeping. One last one. As you can see there, Shebo, our dear brother Shebo, is being congratulated. Shebo used to be at Zamstat and Zambia Statistics Agency, and I think his last appointment before he became a board member of the Bank of Zambia, before election, he was at the Zambia Institute for Policy Analysis and Research, the NGO. He's a consultant. I think he's provided studies in public debt and budget. He's being congratulated because at the ongoing Africa Development Bank annual meeting, where there will be that big election where we are waiting for Dr. Maimbo to be elected. This gentleman, Nali Shebo, sits on the board of Bank of Zambia, and by extension is now been Bank of Zambia, and Zambia provided him to be elected to the board of the Africa Development Bank, in charge of Botswana, Malawi, Mauritius, and Zambia. So our dear brother Shebo, Nali Shebo, has been elected to the board executive for the Africa Development Bank. He'll be in charge of Botswana, Malawi, Mauritius, and Zambia. This is a board that looks after the Africa Development Bank. There's a big one coming where another brother of ours, Samuel Munzele Maimbo, is contesting to become the president. What we're talking about, Shebo, Nali Shebo, is that he's a member of the board of the central bank. So his name was proposed to the board of the Africa Development Bank. So he's at the board level. But who will run the Africa Development Bank, in the next 5 years? So Zambia has put up Samuel Munzele Maimbo, who is former vice president at the World Bank, and we hope that he can scoop it. He's facing serious competition because his competitors like Amadou Hart from Senegal and Abbas Muhammad Toli, these are former ministers of finance, and the other gentleman from, I think, Chad, is a former central bank governor. So Maimbo is facing very serious competition. The guys that he's standing with are former ministers of finance or former central bank governors. But we hope that he will pull through, and that Zambia's goodwill will come forth, and that he will emerge as winners. Colleagues, today we are discussing our judges who are being dismissed like domestic workers. You know, domestic workers have no legal protection. You and I can just fire them anytime. Atiyo na beba sugar, na beba salt, mwamutamfia, no legal protection, no nothing. Our judiciary has been turned to that. If the judiciary doesn't enjoy security of tenure, as we have seen, if it doesn't have adequate compensation, if our judges are not properly paid, if there is no protection or immunity for our judges, like we are seeing where they are being dismissed like domestic workers, this endangers the very democracy we uphold. It endangers the very nationalhood, our peace and security. Therefore, the process to remove the judges must be transparent, must be difficult. In fact, in many jurisdictions, including the US, they provide for an impeachment process that can only be done by another body. Here, it has to be Congress. Parliament is the only one that can remove judges through an impeachment process. And there has to be a tribunal that has to do first thorough investigations and a full trial. Then those details are then submitted to Congress or Parliament for then removal. We have had a similar situation, and now we have what you may deem a lacuna, because we have provided for the Judicial Complaints Commission in the Constitution. What was there was a subsidiary legislation called the Judicial Complaints Authority Act that would then allow for the president to constitute a tribunal to hear any misconduct or unethical practice of a judge. And then they were only removed after a full trial. But here, it just requires Eva Jala and Malambo to sit and they determine the fate of a judge. This has sent shivers in the judiciary. The judiciary, especially the ones that have been removed, are said to be, those that are associated with either PF. Because in the minds of UPND, as you've seen, they think civil servants are members of the Patriotic Front. Some of these judges have been there far longer than the PF. But their removal have been very, very sad. Look at the case of Judge Muma, who was Mongu judge in charge. The man was abducted and thrown in the river to the crocodiles. He was rescued Kumacha by fishermen. He came out. Koswe newspaper from State House had reported that the man had killed himself. They even showed a suicide note. Muluse lwakwalesa ba Judge Muma tabafuile. But Judge Muma was rescued by fishermen. He was shocked to find that there was even a suicide note to his name. They later removed him to judge the case of Mumbipiri and Shabi Chilekwa, where they accused him that he was a Patriotic Front. It didn't take long. His role as Commissioner of Lands, they remembered the case where the PF obtained land, former Zambia Army land in Woodlands, and they said you had irregularly given this land. They tried him, arrested the judge, arrested him. First they forced him to resign. He refused. He said, I haven't done anything wrong. That land was alienated under the law. I haven't done anything wrong. They forced him to resign. When he couldn't resign, they proceeded to have him arrested, and the tribe and that Vincent Malambo's kangaroo court head quickly. There was recommendation to the president, and Judge Muma was removed. Among the judges that were removed, for me, that's the saddest case, because this man woke up. He was abducted. He says, I've been abducted. There was a suicide note published by Koswe that he had killed himself. He didn't write the note. How did Koswe know about the suicide note? Koswe is the media from State House. And his abduction has not been investigated. Yet they hashed a process for his removal. Because as lands commissioner, he had given land to the Patriotic Front to build their headquarters and institute in Woodlands. They said it is former Zambia Army land, and that was his trouble. The other one was Timothy Katenekwa. Timothy Katenekwa has the same complaints as Evans Amaundu. And what happens? One is favored, one is put through the process and removed. And Timothy Katenekwa, a judge that has served over 25 years, was a few months away from retirement and to enjoy full benefits of a judge. He begged, wrote letters, can I resign? Can I be allowed to retire? No, he was removed unceremoniously. But Evans Amaundu was saved. He went to proceed to retire as a Supreme Court judge, to enjoy the benefits of a Supreme Court judge, and now is SEC board chairperson to investigate corruption. Mangaloayo. Where is the trouble? Over the last same period, 3.5 years, President Hakainde Hichilema, to my count, has appointed about 50 new judges. He has appointed 50 new judges. He has removed 7, but he has appointed 50 new judges. He's fashioning the judiciary to his image. This will be a compliant image. We all celebrated when Mumba Marila was appointed as judge, as Chief Justice. He's the only one that has ever held an inaugural address. And in the inaugural address, Chief Justice Mumba Marila recognized that the judiciary was corrupt. He recognized that it had lent itself to the executive and that was going to make it independent. He didn't take long before we realized that this was even going to be a far worse judiciary than the one he had talked about. Because here we are. President Hakainde Hichilema announces that I'll form a court for trial. They formed a new court to try former PF officials. This is supposed to be a court for economic and financial crimes court. It is not. It is a court for the Patriotic Front. It's illegal because it doesn't try any other person. The SEC informed the country last year in December, before the new appointees were appointed, Evans Amaundu and the new Director General were appointed. They announced that 5 ministers were under investigations. These 5 ministers are not before the Economic and Financial Crimes Court. In fact, President Hakainde Hichilema has refused to suspend them. Not that he doesn't know the 5, he knows who the 5 are. He knows because SEC must have given him the report. But he has not suspended them. He has not suspended these judges, these cabinet ministers. And they are not before a court, the Financial Crimes Court that was created for PF. That's what raised immediate eyebrows. President Hakainde Hichilema is announcing that we are going to create a Financial and Crimes Court. When he announces that it will try everyone within 5 months, the Chief Justice immediately complies and makes one. That's what doubted the Mumba Marila's independence and autonomy. He has, in fact, like he said in his own speech, inaugural speech, let's see if I can get it quickly, and I read some of the lofty ideas that he had presented to the country. And the judiciary under his hand has become worse. Let's discuss it. My lines are now open. Where is my phone? Let's look for the phone.
Mukyalo namo twalimona ifyo ubuteeko bulefikisha amapange yakwalula fimo mu lupapulo lwa kyalo mukupekanya ifunde lyakutwala kunganda ya mafunde pakuti bashikirye basangwa muri inganda bakalandepo n'okusuminishanya pakuti kateeka ya akasahine chibe lifunde lya mu lupapulo lwa kyalo kwena obuteeko bwine bulepitana mu maprovinsi okusambirisha n'okweba abantu ifirimu fyo balembere ng'efintu filefwaikwa okwalulwa nangu kuchinja uyo mulimo nawo tawumoneke wa kishinka kyakufwaya ukwishiba ifyo abekala kyalo abene balupapulo bengatemwa okuba mu mafunde ya lupapulo lwabo.
We'll get back to the address by Archbishop Ignatius Chama, who is president of the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops. He was speaking to the issues of the constitution, that the constitution process must be driven by the people, stakeholders must agree, the changes must not be unilateral. And he was addressing on Lutanda Radio. Lutanda Radio is in Kasama, and he was addressing it in Bemba, but the video is out there. My brother, you are the first caller. Please make your contribution. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from. We've expressed concern about the dismissal of 7 judges in a period of 3.5 years.
Thank you, Ambassador. You are speaking to Pelekelo, calling from Choma.
Yes, Mr. Pelekelo.
I have seen the headline, the dismissal of judges like domestic workers. Is it what we are looking at?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I've seen a lot of speculation on social media. Some people have actually gone back into history where they actually cited to say the late President Michael Chirikasata had actually done the same. Now, yourself, Ambassador, you've been in government for some time now. I think maybe there could be some serious reason that could have prompted the president to act in such a manner. But learning to your experience as a former government official, do you think this what has happened is in order, or maybe there is some violation of powers from the head of state?
Thank you very much. Let me answer that. My contention, as you saw in my earlier debate, is that there's a new creation called the Judicial Complaints Commission that has been enacted in the 2016 new constitution. Before that, there was a Judicial Complaints Authority, which was an act of parliament, where judges were required to be subjected to a tribunal, usually by very senior judges, either former chief justices who would head such a tribunal. The new Judicial Complaints Commission, while the president can appoint a board, we don't have an enabling legislation that should define how they should work. Here, the new commissioners have appointed themselves literally as a court, as a tribunal. They are mere commissioners, but now they've given themselves powers to try new judges, or when the complaint is tabled before them, they are determining the matter themselves. They are calling these judges, determining the matter, and making recommendations to the president. I think we need clarity there. We need an enabling legislation like it was under the Judicial Complaints Authority. I don't even know where they are drawing their authority from, because there is no enabling law that has enabled the Judicial Complaints Commission that was created in 2016. Under the previous arrangement, there was a Judicial Complaints Authority. This authority had powers. When they heard the complaint, they would then ask the president to form a tribunal, and the tribunal would go to the fraternity, whether they would get former judges. The case you've cited of President Michael Sata even had to go to Malawi and pick a high court judge from Malawi who wanted independence to come and try these 3 high court judges that were accused of misconduct. That's what we are talking about. You can't have these commissioners giving them, they've never been judges in their lives. You know Vincent Malambo, you know Eva Jala. They've never been judges anywhere. They are giving themselves powers of judges, hearing these matters of complaints against these judges and making recommendations to the president. The ideal situation is, number one, let's provide for a law to enable the Judicial Complaints Commission that has been created since 2016 to then spell out procedures of how they should hear this complaint. But now the commissioners have become a tribunal, have become a court, and any complaint that goes to them, they decide. And they have been very partial. Let me give 2 examples. I took a complaint to the Judicial Complaints Commission. I said the Chief Justice Mumba Malila and Jones Nyama, Supreme Court Judge, cannot hear the matter of Faustin Kabwe and Aaron Chungu because they had them in the lower court when they were judges and attorney general. And I said there's no way now they would come and sit in the higher court and determine this case over the same case that they had sat. I said this is judicial misconduct by the Chief Justice and by Supreme Court Judge Jones Chinyama, because Jones Chinyama is the one that jailed Faustin Kabwe, so he can't come and sit, in as a Supreme Court judge to come and then again complete what he had started. I said these 2, Attorney General Mumba Malila, I was very familiar. Most of you would remember that I was spokesperson for the former President Dr. Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba, who was our second president. I was his official spokesperson for 10 years. So I knew these cases like at the palm of my hands. In fact, when I'm writing Dr. Chiluba's memoirs, these are some of the characters that feature in the manner, in the life of Dr. Chiluba. So I was surprised that they sat as Supreme Court judges to determine a matter that they had determined earlier. For Mumba Malila, at a time, he was Attorney General, and he had made a recommendation, especially in the London trial, to try Faustin and Aaron Chungu. We are glad that this matter is behind us. Faustin and Aaron Chungu have since been pardoned, together with Dr. Katele Kalumba. I had said these men had tried them. Well, the Judicial Complaints Commission said I couldn't bring a matter against the Chief Justice. And they just said, you don't have a locus stand. I said, I have a locus stand of my memory. I participated in this fashion. We seem to have a hot day today. Let's take this call. Hello, good evening, and please let's hear your contributions. Your name and your contributions.
Yes. My name is Mary, calling from Kapili.
Yes, Mama.
Yes. I've been following your program on which you do alert we Zambians to wake up. According to the information which you have provided about that, is it the judge who was drowned and what? For me, what I've seen in our country, mainly, there is just that hunger of hating each other, revengeance. When are we going to stop this? Can we please maybe change the game of the politics? Let's train our children, our grandchildren in schools so that this toxic we have in Zambia can change. Because independence we have, but we are not free. We don't have independence. We are still young. This is when we are having independence. How? Because we are fighting from each other. Who is going to do this in our country? It is our great grandchildren are the one going to fix our country. Us, we are nowhere. Because we are eating each other. Jealous is envying against each other. Tribal against each other. Men against each other. Where are we going? As we say, Zambia is a Christian country. We are not Christian. We are evil. I'm using this word because the problem we have is if my manager loves me and I disagree that you cannot go out with me, then my job will be terminated. If I speak something which is right in that place, in workplace, I'll be terminated my job. So Zambia is gone, I don't know. The problem we have with Zambians, when we know that this is where the mega interest is, that's where we all go. Instead of reasoning, before I leave my country to go to Nigeria or to Uganda to do all sorts of things, what is the meaning I'm bringing in Zambia?
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, as if I was a politician woman, I'll start in school to teach children. Let the children stay in school for long hours, not in the street. That free education, I disagree totally. Mothers who are bringing children should do social work so that they can contribute to the children. Thank you so much, Mr. Mwamba. Otherwise, in Zambia, we are not going to talk all this hatred and what you've done, what you've done. This is not going anywhere. Let's start thinking 20 years or 10 years from now. What change are we changing to our grandchildren?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, my dear sister. Okay. Women speak peace. I love women. They speak peace. They speak unity. They you know, okay, we seem to have a lot of calls. Please call, the line is free. I'll try, and please, when you make contributions, be brief so that others can participate. Actually, if you're from Leicester, I'm returning your call because I saw you've been incessantly calling.
Yes.
Yeah, please make your contributions. This is Mr. Chulufia from Leicester, UK. Iyo lesale tupala shani bane.
I think I've been banging on about this for going on to 3 decades now.
Speak louder, Wakalamba. Speak loud a bit. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was saying I've been banging on about this going on to 3 decades now. Can we shove this mentality of thinking we've got a judiciary which is independent? It can never be independent. Fine. I will say this to you, right? And quickly, there is this argument that, okay, fine, the president will only put down names and all that. Of all those names that he puts down, which one of them is going to go against him? Absolutely no way. Let's leave the judiciary to do their own thing. Judges are not supposed to be appointed. You've been in diplomatic mission, Bamwamba, and you know where I'm coming from. Let's separate the judiciary from the executive. Let it be independent. Let them do their own thing. It's the same as permanent secretaries, civil servants. Bamwamba, you know, and please put your hand up and agree with me. You've been to the UK. You know Whitehall is away from Parliament buildings, the House of Commons. Civil servants in Whitehall will serve in a Labour government, they will serve in a Tory government, and it goes on like that. What do we get in Zambia? Every time government changes, all civil servants are gotten rid of.
Yeah.
That is where the issue is, and that is where we are not going to make any progress at all. What happened before December 12? Judges dismissed. Somebody brings in his own, and yes, we get Latin, this, that, or in South Africa. We don't need all that nonsense. What we need is a judiciary which is independent, and it's never ever going to be independent for as long as they are appointed into those positions. And by the way, it is concerning, and I'm saying this, Baba Mwamba, it is concerning that the names that are being removed are from a particular region. Anyway, I've got to go. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. People are even afraid to state the truth. Thank you, Bane. Thank you, Bane, for that contribution. You know, to protect democracy, To promote peace and unity, our judiciary must be independent, must be autonomous. That's why even the new constitution has provided for fiscal independence, that they must not even beg for money for operations. An allocation must come directly from Parliament. I think you saw John Sangwa tried to adjudicate on this matter, that the Constitution has provided for not just judicial independence, but also financial autonomy, where the allocation in the national budget for the judiciary is done at budget level directly to the judiciary. They don't need to beg from Ministry of Justice, Attorney General, or Ministry of Finance. Their allocation should be approved by Parliament, and they should account to the public, to the National Audit Office, who's the Auditor General, and the funds must be acquitted through Parliament. This is to the extent in which our Constitution envisages that we should have a judiciary that promotes democracy and good governance. Our judiciary must be impartial. It is not impartial at the moment. It's participating in abuse of the law. Can you imagine Chitotela, Kafumba, Nixon Chilangwa, and all those, Bowman Lusambo, Francis Mchemwa, Munia Zulu, Maureen Mabonga, all of them, they've refused bail pending appeal. Yet bail pending appeal is a matter of right. When you appeal your case, you're supposed to enjoy the fruits of that appeal, and bail pending appeal is one that fruit. And there could be circumstances where your bail can be refused. For example, if a judge thinks that your case has no chance in hell to succeed at a high court or a higher court, therefore there's no need to give you bail. But these cases, they will likely succeed. Look at the case of Nixon Chilango and Chitotela. They were not even on the scene. Even according to the witnesses, they were not on the scene. But they are sitting languishing in jail. Jailed for a case that is linked to them very remotely. Maybe because the brother was there and my brother, are you calling to participate in the program because you've called on my private line, or have you called for something else? Have you called to participate on the program, or have you called for something personal?
No. Was testing if the line is going through. Coincidentally, I actually have your line, so I'll just send a text when Glasgow actually Scotland, and I'll see when you're here.
Oh, okay. Wonderful, Elas. Thank you very much. I'll get in touch with you because I'm live on a program. I thought you were watching. Yeah, okay. The judiciary is fundamental to promoting peace, security, and justice of our country. Conflict must be resolved in the judiciary. We must have confidence. As leaders, our patience was stretched in the cases of PF with the injustice that was happening to the PF. They give you an injunction to restrain our dear brother Mal Sampa, and the matter is returnable 30 days later. The following day, there is an injunction to lift that, and it has consequences where our leaders in parliament are removed. The registrar of society changes the office holders, where national peace and security is threatened because our supporters were threatening to go on the street and protest that this is President Hakainde Hichilema trying to destroy the Patriotic Front. And we leaders had to act with a lot of restraint. It should not be up to us. The judiciary should deliver justice. And for 3 years, those cases were literally never heard. And they were dismissed at technicality before any hearing could take place. The judiciary must be a place of justice, must be a sanctuary where all of us must go to resolve the conflict. The judiciary must enjoy institutional independence. They must not, be they must be free from undue pressure. So they must enjoy judicial independence where they are not directed by anyone, but we know what's happening. I've just given you an example. How can everyone that has been jailed not be eligible for bail pending appeal? How can that be? And someone has been publicly stating that when they go in, you're not coming out. We have to teach some people a lesson. Someone has been publicly making those announcements, and the judiciary acts like that. Someone makes a public announcement that I'll create a court for the PF. We have to try these cases. We want these cases to end in 5 months. And the court is created and the rules are created. Is that judiciary independent? The judiciary must have institutional independence. Yes, I talked about the provisions in the law already, where the provisions to the judiciary must be independent from the executive, and an allocation should come from parliament. We should plan for them, budget for them, and no one should interfere with that budget. This is to provide institutional independence. The judiciary must also enjoy decisional independence. A judge must sit and make decisions and not fear reprisals, not fear suspension, not fear transfers. But is our judiciary enjoying any of these independence? Do we have judicial independence where there is no undue pressure from the outside? We know that this judiciary has been lent to the executive. Do we have institutional independence? John Sangwa tried to make the judiciary institutionally independent, especially by removing its allocation from Ministry of Finance to the judiciary where they are allocated directly as provided for our constitution. Do we have decisional independence? Our judges are afraid of making a decision. Here are 3 court judges that ruled against Hichilema 10 years ago. We removed 10 years later. A young man called Kalonde from Matero, who we know is being used by State House, brought that complaint. This cadre, he removed 3 court judges, constitutional court judges. Ngamamulolesha Kalonde for wa politics. Atiwe Kalonde no ufumishe kwa judges ava. You know the hand behind it. You saw a young man, Chizombe, remove the constitutional right of President Edgar Lungu to participate in elections. These are just pawns being used, and the judiciary has lent itself to these cases. And Edgar Lungu is barred from participating in election. And despite 3 previous court judgments, is that judiciary independent? We have a lot of concerns about the removal of judges like domestic workers. What that does is that it threatens national peace, it threatens national security. The judiciary is the anchor. You can have misbehavior in parliament, you can have corruption in the executive, but the judiciary is the one that anchors our nation's peace and security. That's why we bother to give them security of tenure. That's why we want them to enjoy independence and autonomy. That's why we know they are the fountain of justice. If a judiciary doesn't deliver justice, war to that country, you are threatening the peace and security of the country. So please call, participate, and that's the number to call, 0973 078082. Our judges are being removed without security of tenure. I've bothered to explain that now we have a new law. We have the Judicial Complaints Commission that was created by the 2016 Constitution. The commissioners appointed have put it to themselves to hear and determine the fate of judges, make recommendations to the president, and the president then removes them. They've abandoned the process to, as provided for in the Judicial Complaints Act, to appoint, for the president to appoint judges that will then hear this matter in a full tribunal. Now you have commissioners who have been appointed to the Judicial Complaints Commission, who are not judges themselves. They are clothing themselves with powers of a judge. They are hearing and determining and making recommendations for the removal of which judge should be removed. I think that's in an area of illegality. We need a law to provide for rules and regulations and procedure for the Judicial Complaints Commission, which was recently created by our Constitution. That has not been provided for. The judiciary, I know lawyers might say, they are enabling legislation for continuity, but in this case, the creation of this new monster, the Judicial Complaints Commission, I think requires an enabling legislation to provide for procedure of how to remove judges. Malambo and Eva Jala are sitting in a kitchen cabinet and determining as a tribunal who should be removed, any complaint. And they've acted in a partisan manner because Nixon Chilangwa took a complaint to the Judicial Complaints Commission and stated that the magistrate handling their matter in Kawambwa was caught in these various recordings, and here is a correspondence. He's been promised by this person a promotion that as soon as he deals with our case, he will be promoted. Nixon Chilangwa took a full complaint with evidence. That magistrate refused to recuse himself and proceeded to jail Nixon Chilangwa and Chitotela. Sorry, we keep on missing this call. Hope he can call back. Please call back. Please call back. It's a hot topic. Call back and participate. Good evening. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening. I'm quiet. Bamabo, kuita yuko ku Vatican. How's the new Pope settling?
Formal inauguration took place. There have been, there are these processes. The Catholics have a very fish,
I'm crying.
I'm happy the Zambian missions also were present in formal inauguration. It's just I find it a little strange that the Holy See doesn't have we don't have an embassy there. We have the Holy See, the Vatican's embassy in Lusaka. Here, they are accredited to the one in the UK. So
yes, our mission in London, not even our mission in Italy, but our mission in London is the one that's accredited to the Vatican.
Yes, I find it very illogical because if you go to embassy, so there'll be an embassy in Rome. I don't know why, but third world countries, we are very good at making our lives harder, even though it's already hard. Yeah? Ambassador, yes, fixing. Katibali will fix it. Fixing. I've heard you, but it's the fixing my judge's number.
My judges, ni wana mazai. They're just like our sweepers and our gardeners. They can be chased anytime.
No, but Ambassador, these people, they study a lot at school. I'm a law, Chimona medicine, sure. When after disrespect to, don't we have an family in a Judicial Complaints Authority Act here? And we are JCC. The Constitution and procedural safeguards create a due process, judicial independence, and transparency and accountability. If it's the presidency as the Makayon said to even kubika their fingers in the judiciary as well as the legislature, because last time it was about the Constitution. The legislature has been demeaned. Now it's about the judiciary. Means even the law enforcement is not being respected by the executive. So I'm not sure if we have a constitution and procedural safeguards according to our current constitution. Hello, Ambassador. You question here last meet. Yeah, CEC. I heard you mention Dukila. I don't know if it's supposed 60% shareholding is. I'm a shareholder as well. I require land.
Mkwai pali si bachla balese fiat, it is now a $1 billion company's market value at the Lusaka Stock Exchange, and I had two issues there. I said first because it's making all this billion and this value because of ZESCO, and I was making demands that we should publish the bulk supply agreement. Two, the shareholding structure is in layers and layers. There are two companies that own CEC, up to 52% shareholding. And they are in layers. You don't know the faces behind because they're registered in Ireland, but they're Zambian companies.
I wondering why change it. I mean, Zambia individually, but change it collectively. Anyway, thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. That was Mr. Mavo from Italy. He represents Zambians in Italy and is a keen follower of this program, and he participates very well. Let me look at the law that provides for the JCC. I think it's Article 236 of our Republican Constitution. This is a new creation. Before that, there was Judicial Complaints Authority, which mandated the president to set up a tribunal of usually high court judges and senior people. My dear brother, please tell us your name and where you are calling from.
Good evening, Ambassador.
Good evening.
This is Justin.
Yes, my brother. Justin, where are you calling us from?
I'm calling you from Kapili.
Okay. Please make your contributions.
Well, mine is just a quicker contribution. I think that the state of affairs, in Zambia is very, very clear. And the president's resolve is very, very clear. Because from the selective jailing of people, that a man who can't, who can bear Iran could be, jailed in a manner that happened to Nixon. The president's resolve is very clear, even from the appointments, is very clear. And that is very determined, both from what he has been saying and what he has been doing. So, but what surprises some of us is that I still feel that the opposition is not, united. Because, Ambassador, if you have to dare to fight a lion, you have to prepare. Because you can't go to hunt a lion with a stick. Yes. The presidents of these opposition political parties know very well how resolved our president is to make sure that he retains power, to make sure that he has favors, he uses state institutions, including the judiciary, to impose himself. They know very well. But again, not to speak or not to undermine any political party. Every political party has a beginning. If, for example, to see 6 candidates in Rumezi and also CF goes it alone. So if not to speak down of President Kalaba's party, but if he chooses to go alone again in the next election, he cannot certainly beat the current president.
Yeah.
This one must be a liberation where we field in one candidate and then stop some of these. So this is what is really, really, really surprising to me and disturbing. I don't feel the opposition is united.
Correct.
Despite knowing that before us,
he's a monster. You have a monster.
We have a monster. He's very determined. He's very from appointments, from non-renewal of contracts in some state institutions, and coincidentally the replacement of some people. You know, the narrative of Church Katenekwa is very, very unfortunate. Where I bring a complaint against the individual A and B. Only individual A is punished.
Yeah.
And individual B is promoted.
Even given more accolades.
Yes. So, no, I just had to say that, cry our beloved country. We hope God, comes for us, Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so
much. He's faithful. He's faithful. Our Lord is faithful. We've been through dark periods as a country, and we pray that the Lord will lift Zambia up. This is a country, seen and ordained before we are all there. There was a man called David Livingstone, the man that named Victoria Falls, who on his deathbed said, "This country shall be a Christian nation. This country shall be a beacon of peace, and it shall be a shining light to the rest of the world." That's what Zambia is. Here is a man dying in Chitambo, dying in Serenge, away from civilization, and writes in his notebook about the state of our country and what he foresaw, what he foretold about our country and the prophecy about our country. So Zambia shall remain a beacon of peace, a shining example and a light to the world. We will be a food basket for the region. There's no need for our country not to be. Ukraine, one small country with snow sometimes up to 6 months, could feed the world. What about us with the best loam soils, the best fertile soils, with the water bodies that we have? 40% of water in Southern Africa is in Zambia, either in water bodies, rivers, streams, and underground water. With a favorable rain pattern, we can be a hub for export of power to the entire region. You have a resource like coal that can last 200 years under exploitation. Why shouldn't we be an energy hub for the region? Whoever has sinister motive for our country will not succeed. Like I said, this is God's own apple. Like they say, an apple's, eye of the apple. This is what our country, Zambia, is. And these are not my words. They are words of David Livingstone 200 years ago, before you and me were born. He ordained and foresaw a beautiful country that will be an example to the rest of the world. I've got the Judicial Service, the Judicial Complaints Commission. It only has, can you imagine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 provisions. This is under Article 236 of the Constitution. And like I stated, this is supposed to be enabled by a subsidiary legislation. You are supposed to prescribe the processes and procedures. These judges, of course, it has provided that they will receive and hear and determine the complaint, but it has not provided how. The how says it to be prescribed, and the prescription has not been given. Vincent Malambo and Deva Jala are sitting to determine the fate of judges when the law has not provided for that for them. Go to Article 236 of the Zambian Constitution. I can see a senior cleric is calling, is based at the Vatican in Italy. I don't know if he will identify himself, but let's see if he... Sir, are you calling to participate in the program?
Yeah, please. I wanted to call to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, because you've called on a private number, so I thought I could first get clarification. Please introduce yourself and participate.
Thank you very much. My name is Don Oscar. I'm Don Oscar. I'm calling from Spain. At the moment, I'm in Spain, in Pamplona, a beautiful place in the northern part of Spain, very close to Bilbao. But I'm a Zambian, I come from the Diocese of Gondola, and from the Diocese of Gondola and Bishop Piri. So I'm Don Oscar, and my services, I officiate my services in Italy, but at the moment I've just come for a wedding here in Spain, and this is where I am calling from.
Please participate, and thank you for calling, and thank you for following this program.
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable Emmanuel Wamba, and thank you for whatever you are doing. You are doing a great job for the country Zambia. I know, having known you for a long time, I know you are not antagonistic. You speak your mind, and you speak especially for the most vulnerable people. And that's why we follow your program, we listen to your program, and we contribute. So
Thank you very much. I'm grateful. Yes, I'm very grateful.
Here in Spain, I was so much embarrassed today when I was walking in the some of the parks, the town parks of Spain, in this place called Pamplona. Beautiful place, grass, trees, and the peace of the people who are working there. I felt like I was crying. I felt like crying. Why did I feel like crying? I've seen what has happened, what is happening in our country. The tension, just because somebody belongs to a different political party, such a thing does not happen here in Spain. When the campaign is finished, when the elections is done, these people, they drop down the differences in political affiliations, and they go ahead as a nation. Opposition and political parties. So I went on live on my Facebook page and on my TikTok page, and I told my friends and my followers, I said, I feel ashamed.
Yeah.
And that's why on this platform, I know your platform is a very much important platform, and it reaches not only our brothers in Zambia, our brothers and sisters in Zambia, but your platform, Honorable Mwamba, reaches many angles in Africa, and not only in Africa, because I'm not in Africa, but it has reached me here in Spain.
Thank you very much.
So your platform, no, that is very true. Your platform reaches many angles. That one you should be very much assured of. Even your followers should understand that what you are saying in your corner there is reaching many people who are it's reaching many people who are there in many angles and corners of this world. So my contribution is this. There are a lot of things which are happening in our country. A lot of things. Many challenges. My point and my appeal, a serious appeal to our president, the President Hakainde Hichilema. My serious appeal is this. Bishops and clergy and civil servants, they have said, please, Your Excellency, can you give what the Zambian people needs? And what the Zambian people needs is this, to prepare them for the elections next year. We know that they are issues of delimitation. They are issues of constitution amendments. Bishops have repeatedly, from time to time, please can you suspend such type of a program? I was listening to the Bishop of Kasama, the president of the Bishop Councils of Zambia. He was saying, Your Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, do not give the voice to all the Zambians. That's what you think is what the Zambians think. We are pleading to you, Your Excellency. We know there are challenges you are going through. But look into the plight of the people you are leading, the same people who gave you the authority to govern them. This is our proposal and our request. We are request. I can kneel down. I'm not. This is not a video call.
Yeah.
I did been a video call. I
Nga
was going to kneel
mwachifukama.
down.
Yemkwai.
I was going to kneel down and say, what can I do so that this can touch your heart? Can I kneel down? If this is going to touch your heart, I was going to kneel down and say, listen to the Zambian people. Don't listen to the cadres. Don't listen to the cadres. All cadres are emotional, and the cadres in Zambia, they are the ones who are letting our country to go behind. We can't make a step forward if you depend on what the cadres will tell you, Your Excellency. Listen to ordinary people, critical voices, like the voice of Emmanuel Mwamba. Emmanuel Mwamba was my enemy. I have to confess this. And Emmanuel Mwamba knows it. When I was on TV Makwetu, I was the only clergy there who supported you, Your Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema. Remember these words. I was the only clergy from the Catholic Church who came from the diaspora and supported you. I did not support what you are doing now. I supported when you proposed to us the 10-plan program. Now, what is happening now has nothing to do with the 10-plan program. Your Excellency, listen to the Zambian people. Listen to the ordinary people who are crying foul. Listen to the clergy who do not hate you. We don't hate you. We love our leaders. We pray for our leaders every day when we celebrate the Eucharist. But we do not pray for our leaders to oppress the ordinary Zambian people. This is my simple, short contribution on this platform. Especially, I wanted to say thank you to Emmanuel Mwamba. The Zambian people cry foul. Thank you. Let's tell our president. Let's tell our president to stop the delimitation process and the constitutional amendment so that the resources of the country can be diverted for the ordinary people so that they can renew their voter cards and their national registration cards. Thank you very much, Undersupplement.
Thank you. Thank you. Our dear brother, Father Donosco, Catholic priest based at the Vatican, is currently in Spain for a wedding and is pleading. He was one of those, like he says, we're political opponents before the 2021 elections. They actually even invited me to Wakwetu TV that was hosted by, remember, Elias Munsha. And on that program, Father Donosco was the only Catholic priest that came very openly and said, look, he felt that President Hakainde Hichilema could make a better leader than the previous President Edgar Lungu. And now he has become one of the biggest critics. He's only holding President Hakainde Hichilema to his word. He says, you promise that you deal with the cost of living. You promise that there will be no load shedding, but you are exporting power in the midst of load shedding. You promised that fuel will be cheaper, but now it's doubled. You said you'll have an exchange rate that's stable, that the kwacha will be at 12 kwacha. It's now home at 28 kwacha. And Mr. President, you promised peace and justice. You promised that you will not punish your political opponents. Look how you are jailing your opponents. You said no one will stay in jail without bail. Here, people entitled for bail have not been granted bail. You said any person who's been arrested must not stay in police custody beyond 24 hours. But our people are being jailed up to 30 days before they even appear in court. Father Donosco is only asking President Hakainde Hichilema to live up to his words. And someone says, I'm interested in the prayer you talked about David Livingstone. This is what David Livingstone on his deathbed said on the day he died. He died in Chitambo, struck with malaria. They were taking him, the two, Chumi and Chusi, were taking him to the coast, but he fell ill while at Chitambo and he couldn't proceed anymore. The chief gave him akamusa kutaka umwakutusisha, and he wrote in his last diary, he says, Lord, on this land where I rest my bended knees, let it become a mighty Christian nation. Let it be a beacon of hope to the African continent, and let it be a light to the rest of the world. So, if there's anyone, including President Hakainde Hichilema, who thinks they can dim the light that Zambia and Zambians carry, they are mistaken. Zambia will rise to its predestined position. Zambia will be a basket for Africa. Zambia will feed Africa. And on the issue of the constitution, today NGOs, not the 12 NGOs led by Chapter 1, but the NGOs that usually are moderate and they support President Hakainde Hichilema have come out with a very strong statement. This is Action Institute for Policy Analysis, Governance, Elections, Advocacy, Research and Services, GEARS, Zambia Civil Liberties Union, ZCLU, Governance of Civil Liberties Advocates Platform, ZIGLIP, then SACOD, then Advocates for National Development and Democracy, ANDD, and Research of Justice and Democracy. These are moderate NGOs. You can't accuse them of being far left against President Hakainde Hichilema. These, you may say, really support government, but they've come out with a very strong statement, and they've not supported the constitutional making process, and they've put out up to 12 points. And they said, unless you amend the constitution, the draft constitution to this, the line you are pushing, Mr. President, cannot be supported. You make our country a dictatorship. Mr. Mabo is calling again. Maybe he wants to support his brother, Father Mwansa, Father Donosco Mwansa. My dear brother, are you calling back?
Yes, Ambassador. I called you. I called back right after my community member, Father Pombo Donosca, finished talking, just because I was listening to him.
Yes, please proceed.
No, I'm sorry for maybe calling twice. I just wanted.
No, you're allowed. The line is free.
Thank you. No, Donosca is a very active community member. They also help us a lot here. You know, the Catholic. We have a lot of Catholic bishops and priests, and also students from Zambia who are at these pontifical universities, and they are very active in the community. But you know, Donosca was campaigned a lot for the UPND.
Mm-hmm.
And in his contribution, I heard him making a submission, talking to the president, to listen to the people, to listen to the priests, to listen to the Zambian community and the pundits, so the people. And I just wanted to say that also, if Zambians are listening, that it's not, including Donosca, it's not possible that the president will listen to you. it's not possible that all the things we were talking about, like the limitation and the constitution amendment, even the crisis is like the load on the excess load on our lands. We call it load shedding, and just the economic crisis, because these are not priorities. The priority and the obsession of the government in power in our country is sustenance, how they can be sustained in power themselves. It doesn't matter if people are languishing in poverty, if people don't have power and businesses are affected, if things have just gone downward, like it's topsy-turvy. They say it's total confusion. And I wanted Don Oscar, because Don Oscar is one of the people, we used to argue about before 2021 elections. And that submission will just bring more disappointment to people like him and others. I call them like the prodigal sons, the UPND. It's like they have been disappointed and turned against. But it's not possible that the disappointment will be turned into something they will be happy with, because at the heart, they are not there. They don't even matter. Mu 2026, I don't know bakachita matter, because what if I'm a vote? So I just wanted to really say this, that there's no possibility that the people, the powers that be will listen to such submissions like, please listen to us. Nokuchula nokulapira nokubungula takulafika panembe.
But it's to somebody shall a chimwine.
Also it's consequence that in less animal dollar. Wherever you should learn something. God gave you that responsibility for a reason. He chose you for a reason. Okay. Then never but why in all these years? Nishi. There's something nothing in the air, spirit of the nation. Then I want to do a petition. I'm going to say then I'm more African. Then let's all the talk. And then if I could pull a very bitching but Chamarilo ambassador, Ati Muntunga now for the Bibale Mueva, then Tale. Then that vice Yamuipaisha. But you toilet vari chikaripa chumfumune. Chikaripa chile umfwabe na vena Zambia this time. Na baluala kumandoko atavale umfwa that time. So I'm sorry, Don Oscar is my man. But people like him and others, Zambians, including some of my own family members, the condescending behavior back with them 2021 to Amonati, it's difficult for me to sympathize with them. It's somehow I feel happy at it. They are being fixed in a way that it's burning. Vale can ambassador in Lusaka Palongekas, Vale can open Posha song. No, we don't shake hands like that. This time we saw ni forward. At all. So this time forward we don't say that, it's not funny anymore. You remember.
Yeah. No, my brother Mabo, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our dear brother Mabo from Italy, he says there are many people that, for me, I don't blame anyone that supported President Hakainde Hichilema. I will not blame them for changing their mind. The man put out a manifesto, and like Father Donosco has stated, he put up a 10-point plan. And then he made various pledges and campaign promises that he will fix the economy, that he will reduce the price of meal, price of electricity. There will be no load shedding, and that, he will uphold human rights, that there will be no human rights abuses under his, and that institutions such as the police, will be free, and that he would allow independence of the judiciary, parliament, and democratic institutions such as the Electoral Commission of Zambia. It's not them, Father Donosco and others, that have changed. It's President Hichilema who has abandoned what he promised. What is sad is that he has even embarked on a second set of campaign where he wants to be re-elected. We muntu na ufeluka. Wafeluka. But you still want, talk about repeat. At you, let me repeat and probably I'll do better. You've wasted Zambia's 5 years. My dear brother, Dr. Lubinda Habazoka, a dear brother of mine, a proper technocrat for our country, I sadly had to differ with him because in his estimate he gave that President Hakainde Hichilema had scored, according to him, 8.9 out of 10, which was an 89%. So I challenged Dr. Habazoka. I said, is this a president you can say has scored 89%? First, his biggest failure is the economy. You are saying debt restructuring has succeeded. It has not. Look at our debt service payment and the levels of payment. They're still very high. And what he did was just to push forward the payment of the debt, of our debt, to 2032 to 2048. He has shifted the burden not from his government to another government. Then he mishandled the debt restructuring process. He had an opportunity to go to China very early on in the process and even probably seek a total debt cancellation. China was capable of doing that, looking at our history and relationship. But he bungled it. He kept on going to Paris, kept on going to London. But your biggest bilateral creditor was China, who owed about $6 billion of our loan. So that is not a success. Up to now, the debt restructuring cannot be, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane was in Washington, was here in Washington, and was trying to get a new loan, $1.5 billion from the IMF, because the other $1.7 billion that he got has expired. They've used it, utilized all of it. We've drawn the entire $1.7 billion. We don't even know where it has gone. He wanted $1.5 billion. They told him, no, go and complete your baby restructuring. Dr. Habazoka called it, no, they are baby multilaterals. No, they are not baby. $3 billion is a lot of money. And China has not concluded. Exim Bank and others, the commercial entities in China, have not concluded our agreement. So the debt restructuring that you celebrate, that is a success, it is not. And I demonstrated. And I said, President Hakainde Hichilema touts himself as an economist. And he said he was Mr. Fixer. He was going to fix the economy. Where are those skills? And like Father Donosco is asking, where is a 10-point plan? This is a man that repeatedly saying having load shedding is lack of leadership and lack of brain. He said it publicly. He said Dubai has no single rain drop for the last 500 years, but it has power 24 hours. What about Zambia? He said that. And in the midst of this crisis, he keeps on exporting our power. How can you say this is a president that has scored 89%? I mean, never president, he has scored 50%. That's what he said last time he was in Southern Province. No, but you always will under 89%. So Dr. Habazoka took offense and said, but Emmanuel, you have my number, we are friends. I said, yeah, we are friends. But ZMBC put you on such a pedestal, and what you were telling was not truthful. So I'm sorry I had to come on the same platform like ZMBC and call you out because I didn't understand. Knowing your knowledge, knowing your training up to PhD level, and your understanding of not just Zambia's economy, Africa's economy, and your understanding of our mindset that makes us remain poor. How could you say a man that has failed has succeeded? Even their supporters like Laura Mitty says the man has only scored 20%. How can you put him at 89%? So I had differed with that. Let's begin to wind up. If there are no more calls, let's begin to wind up. I think that the removal of judges should not take place in the manner the Judicial Complaints Commission has provided for in Article 236. I think doesn't provide for procedure of how these judges can be removed. The Judicial Complaints Authority Act provided for a tribunal where it was headed by either Chief Justice or someone that senior. Mr. Sata even had to get someone from Malawi to come and hear the removal of judges. That is the scrutiny we want. an unstable judiciary, a judiciary that is dependent on the executive, a judiciary that's not independent is risking the country. It's risking the peace and security of our country. It exists to resolve conflict, not to perpetuate conflict, not to submit to the will of the executive. The undue pressure from the executive will always be there. Your role as a judiciary is to be independent, because at the heart of it, you're supposed to promote justice. When you promote justice, you guarantee peace and security of our nation. You are not doing that at the moment. Should judges, magistrates who misconduct themselves be removed? Yes, of course they should be removed. But we are saying the process should be stringent. The process must be fair, transparent, and the veracity of the allegations must be tested to the limit before you remove such a judge. But what we've seen with the last judges that have been removed doesn't guarantee that they were removed fairly. I gave you an example of Wilfred Muma. First, they abducted him. They tried to kill him. He was saved by fishermen. Someone had even drafted his suicide note, a note he didn't write. He was rescued by fishermen. He was freezing to death where they had thrown him in the crocodile-infested Zambezi River over the Mwangu Kalabo Bridge. His abduction has never been investigated. They tried to purport that it was a suicide. Before long, they said, you can't hear Mumbipiri's case. They removed him from that case. And before long, they said, no. In your past, when you were a commissioner of lands, you gave land to the Patriotic Front. Therefore, this was irregular. Therefore, he should be removed as a judge. They proceeded to arrest him. They proceeded to remove. Look at the case of Judge Timothy Katenekwa. 3 months before his retirement, an old man that has served the judiciary with distinction was removed on an allegation of corruption. The same corruption allegation that was put on Evans Amaundu. Evans Amaundu was allowed, was cleared, was allowed to retire, was even now appointed, is now heading your anti-corruption commission. The complainant even proceeded, when Judge Amaundu was cleared, proceeded to write a fresh letter and accused Honorable Vincent Malambo that he had acted tribally by saving his kith and kin, because the same complaint, same veracity of evidence he had taken before against Judge Timothy Katenekwa is the same. You have all these cases that probably were not heard properly. Joshua Banda, Sanden Konde, and the 3 constitutional judges, their crime is that they acted in their judicial duties and denied the hearing for Hakainde Hichilema on the issue of the 14 days. He came round and punished them for that and had them removed. These are appointed constitutional court judges, one of the highest courts in the land, ratified by parliament and removed like domestic workers. There's paralysis and fear over that judiciary. Anyone can be removed anytime in a period of 7 to 21 days. That's not a judiciary. And it's being done without the protection of the Chief Justice. He seems complicit to these crimes that are being occasioned against the judiciary and the country. He has set up a court for the PF, court for economic and commissions, court for economic and financial crimes court, a decision of President Hakainde Hichilema, not a decision of the judiciary. He has not protected, he has not allowed the judiciary to be free and independent. Look at the PF cases. Look at the men and women, Mrs. Kampiongo, Maureen Mawonga, Nixon Chilangwa, and all these that are have been imprisoned and are allowed for an appeal. That appeal will not be given. It's like this consonant. The president says, no, these people should be jailed and they should remain in jail and save. And that's what we have seen. You have seen a judiciary become compliant to executive rhetoric, executive wishes. You have a judiciary lending itself to the executive. It's not independent. It can't guarantee justice, peace, and security of our country. It's not resolving conflict like we've seen in the PF cases. It's not promoting social and economic development of our country. So we are at a perilous stage as a country. We are at the cusp of what we don't know. But I have faith. Like I said, when I read the prayer of David Livingstone over our country, I have faith that our country will rise out of this mediocrity, that our country will rise to a leadership that will respect the rule of law, that will respect the integrity of the judiciary, that will respect the sacredness of our parliament, that will recognize that ECZ is a midwife for leaders and it should be impartial. It should play its role to build, not to destroy our democracy. Oh, there's one caller. Let's see if I can call him back. Sir, tell us your name, or madam, I don't know what you are, and please contribute.
Okay, so my name is Chris, calling from Saka.
Thank you, Chris. Proceed to make your contributions.
Okay, I think I just want to agree with you or make a comment on what the economist paged the performance of the current government, where he said that no, they have performed so well. Did he mark them up 95% or 85?
Yeah, he said 8.9 out of 10. So that gives us, I think, 89%.
Wow. You see, it's very, very unfortunate for us to be able to witness something like that from the people we are supposed to respect in their discipline. You see, when you make such a careless statement, you should have gone ahead to give us in terms of how, or in comparing how the economic fundamentals have performed the time that UPND came into power, in terms of, for example, say the GDP, the inflation rate, the per capita income, unemployment, balance of payments, fiscal balance, public debt to GDP ratios, exchange rate fluctuations, and so on. It's very careless. I think economics is not that careless. You tend to doubt people's competences, because it's just lucky that people don't read in Zambia to be making such careless statements, careless inferences. What makes him say 80? They have performed up to 89% in terms of aligning the economy of the country. That was very disappointing of him. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, he was responding to my remarks regarding Dr. Lubindawa Zoka, a dear brother of mine, a dear friend of mine. We've shared platforms, and I saw his input to the PF manifesto, which is probably one of the best manifestos ever produced. But our people do not read, so they would not even understand. But the 2021 manifesto of the Patriotic Front is one of the best economic documents. And there are people like Dr. Lubindawa Zoka and other academics from the University of Zambia and veteran economists that participated in putting together that document. So I respect him a lot, and therefore I regarded his comments praising President Hakainde Hichilema that he has scored 8.9 out of 10 as mere politics for whatever reasons, because those shouldn't be the views of Dr. Habazoka. The way we know him and his solid training and his work currently at the University of Zambia and his campaign for Zambians to change their mindsets about development. So it was very disappointing. It just didn't disappoint me. It disappointed many. And that's why I was forced to respond. Today we're discussing the topic dismissing judges like domestic workers. You are aware that President Hakainde Hichilema has yet again suspended Madam Honorable Emilia Piri Sukuntu as High Court judge, and before that he has fired 7 other judges, and we were placing it on record that we think that the JCC must wait for their procedures to be prescribed by law as provided in Article 236. That procedure has not been provided for. What exists is a Judicial Complaints Authority as a subsidiary legislation, and that law as provides for setting up of a tribunal, usually led by very senior judges such as former Chief Justices or former Supreme Court judges, to hear a matter. You saw when the President Michael Sata, suspended 3 judges, he had to ask for a judge, I think it was Judge Copper from Malawi, to come and hear the matter. But here we are, people that have never even been judges are the ones that are sitting as commissioners, and they've given themselves adjudicating powers and are determining the so-called misconduct of judges. And we've seen the removal from constitutional court judges, very senior judges, far senior than these non-judges sitting as commissioners, to remove them from their roles as judges. We think that the law must be very clear. We think that the Judicial Complaints Commission must be provided for by an enabling legislation that should provide for procedure. And if possible, we hope that it can provide for an independent tribunal to hear and determine this case. We need a stable judiciary, not a Yamangalo, where a president can appoint, he has appointed in 3 years 50 judges and has removed 7. He's fashioning it in his own image. That's not a judiciary that our democracy envisions. They want an independent, impartial, objective judiciary, the one that promotes justice, peace, and security, and fosters national development. Those high values cannot be attributed to this current judiciary. God bless you. God bless our country. I leave you with the words from Archbishop Ignatius Chama, who is the president of the Zambia Conference of Catholic Bishops. He had issued this statement. He has repeated it. He thinks that the president must hear. The constitutional process must not be rushed. It must be inclusive. You must allow all stakeholders. You can't be manoi kwatile. And the constitution can never be driven by the executive in the manner it's being driven. It's a process driven by our people. You have a consortium of 7 NGOs that have objected to this constitution. Then you have, of course, traditional NGOs like the 12, Law Association of Zambia, Chapter 1, and others that have also objected to this process. But President Hakainde Hichilema is so obstinate, is burrowing through, going ahead with something that Zambians have already, through their stakeholders, have rejected. God bless you. God bless our country. And shalom, shalom.
Chirikwati kuwaishiwa fyonse ngapingwilako bonse pafyo bale kabila nombaena kwisabe bafye okuti nalishi befyo mufwaya nalimirembelako ifikaba amafunde yakumwafwa okuikala mubwana lale na bonse batota abati mwahombeni kalombo. Tatuishibe na bamembala ba muparamenti nga bakakwata obuntungwa bwa kishinka kyakwalesa ili bakatampa okulanda pamilandu ili mufyo obuteeko bulefwayo okwalula n'okuchinja olupapulo lwa kyalo. Kuti twabakumbirwa afye mweyo wakwa Kristo uwaba mweyo wa kishinka okuti akabe nabo n'emitima yabo ikapokelele amaka yakwe mukuchita n'okulanda ifya kishinka ifikafwa abantu kumyaka iya kuntanji. Lelo hapo kulibamo abalenji bushati busheimwe bashikofu lubalinshi musendelemo muri uyu mulimo buteko butampile muno kyalo. Kuti chawama na bwekeshapo amashiwi na ishilelanda kuno mulabasa pabushiku bwa pa 9 April unowine umwaka. Na yamashiwi na yalandile ngechilangiriro chakuti abana ba ecclesia baba n'okwishiba amafunda ecclesia afunda pamulandu wa bwikashi bw'abantu mu kyalo pantu nga bayishiba ifyo ecclesia afunda liena takwaleba ukuipusha bashikofu atemu abapatiri ati muleti poshani icho muleti poshani ninshi alishibikwa kale ku bantu nabashiwiyandi nalandile ayo nalabwekeshapo ngobwasuko kuli bonse abana ba ecclesia abaletwishika palubali bali n'okubula pali uyu mulimo wakwalula n'okuchinja olupapulo lwa kyalo ni aya fila balanda ati quote na chita quote ife nalandile kyali wama okusambilishanya pafintu ecclesia afunda pakuti takuleba ukutwishika n'okulapula ompunta nga kwayisa amashiwi mu kyalo ayakumine ubwikashi bw'abantu ng'efe kiri mu kyalo kyesu tutampile ukuchiushanya pamulandu wa kuwamya olupapulo lwa kyalo kyesu kwati fintu kyali mu 1995 1996 eri na mu 2019 na mu 2020 ilio nakabili kwali umulimo umowine lyonse umulandu wa kwalula nangu kuwamya olupapulo nga waima nenshi kuchiushanya kula itunga abalwani babuteko nekyalo na fimbipo nabamo ukuyimona ati eba amano ukuchilaba nabo kabiri eba akwata obusuma bwa kyalo mu mitima yabo aba nabo iyo napali ifi fyonse ecclesia weso muno Zambia alifunda kale ukuti umulandu wakwalula nokuwamya olupapulo lwa kyalo mulandu wabekala kyalo bonse n'abekala kyalo bonse bafuile ukuyibimbamo n'okwishiba uko uyo mulimo ulelola nenshila yakufikila mukupwisha uyo mulimo nintu yasuminishiwa kuli bonse teya muntu umo nefika tumbukamo mumulimo fya bonse okusumina ati efe tulefwaya okuyiteka mu kyalo kyesu emukutila ukumva fyonse fita kuli nenshi takufuile ukuba umulimo wakwalula n'okuchinja olupapulo lwa kyalo kano fye ninshi umo ewa itungo okuti ewa kwatisha amaka n'amano pabantu bonse abene ba lupapulo nokuti eufuile ukubapangila olupapulo bena kupokelela fye epo na pelela enanguntile epo na pelela kulanda pamashiwi aya nabulile muliela mashiwi na ishilela nda kuno mulabasa ifi efe nalandile panaine April uno mwaka kuno mulabasa ifi nabwekeshapo ngobwasuko bwa bonse abale ipusha palubali ecclesia muno archdiocese na Mozambia abula pamulandu wakwalula olupapulo lwa kyalo ubuteko bwesu bwaimya ndesubila mweba kutika kuno mulabasa nga mwankumanya na kabiri tamwakanjipushe palubali ecclesia abula muri uyu mulimo ubuteko bwaimya.